Jeff, thank you for coming in to have a chat with me today. And from what I understand is that you had your own financial planning company for about 26 years and you sold out recently, a couple of years ago.
That's correct,
Yeah.
Raymond. Yeah.
Okay, so what are you doing with yourself right now?
Well, I took a bit of time off, not a lot of time, and I decided to set up a new business called Wealth by Design, primarily because there's a lot of unfinished business, in my view, when it comes to bridging the knowledge gap in the financial literacy area. And we were innovators with the financial planning company, which we set up in 1995. It was the first fee-for-service financial planning full disclosure business in Australia. And we're innovative then, and we're innovative now because so much jargon and confusion is in the financial services sector, and I think a lot of it is evidenced by the fact that so many people are not positioned properly for preparing for having enough capital to keep them in a lifestyle they've become accustomed to, sort of when they stop work. Classic retirement problem, not having enough money. And so that's what we do now. So people come to us, and we've been around for a long time, so we're fairly well networked. And we are not financial planners anymore because I sold the business and I handed my license in. So we drive a very active education and financial literacy program for people, and that's basically what we're doing. We're well networked with a lot of other professions because a lot of people still need expert advice, whether it be legal,
Educational and financial literacy.
so totally.
That sounds interesting, and a lot of people need that because I don't believe that there will be a lot of Australians don't have or don't engage financial advisors or financial planners to look over their platform and their pathway and wealth or business and put a strategy in place.
Totally correct. I mean, the last lot of figures are 10 million Australians make financial decisions for their personal financial lives without seeking any formal advice.
Financial decisions just from mate down a pub or hearing from someone or one of their friends that's investing in crypto or doing something in real estate, and that's how people really make most of the financial decisions these days, right?
They do. They're discussions that they get from YouTube, mates at the barbecue,
TikTok.
Vested interests also is a dangerous area because they'll have people very cleverly established marketing behind vested interests, and the property industry is a classic example of that. There's very good property advisors, but there's very bad ones, and it applies to all sorts of disciplines, and not just property. It can be crypto, it can be they're two big areas that offer fabulous opportunities if you've got good information and information that's not got vested interests promoting it from behind the scenes, and that's we demystify a lot of the jargon because we just simply charge a fee for education. So we're not.
You charge a fee for. So tell me a little bit more. How do you run your financial, educational, and consultancy services?
Okay, good question.
Or financial literacy.
For financial
because
literacy,
consultancy is.
Very
You got to be very careful here with every word that you use in this country, don't you?
You do, and you've got to be very because we're not advisors, so we can't give advice.
Or consultants in that case.
And even and a consultant's a very broad term. Someone goes,
That's
consultant,
right.
yeah, sure. What do you actually do?
Yep.
And so, we provide a 15-minute, no charge or obligation, free chat via Zoom. They can even pop in and see us, or just a phone call. and that can be anywhere in Australia. And we can work out enough during that 15 minutes with careful questioning around what people are actually trying to achieve, and we listen to what their concerns are, and we have issues and concerns most people have, and we listen. It's the big thing we do, because there's a lot of telling and shouting at people about what you should be doing, but if you actually listen to what people are as bothering them, the elephant in the room is often a term that we will use that doesn't get discussed in the family home. Like, there's often one member of the family, one partner will be more attuned financially than the other, and the other will be either not interested or interested, but there's not enough communication in the family home about the genuine finances of the family, the debt levels that they're carrying, the strategy to pay debt off, the strategy to minimise taxation legally, and that's a 15-minute discussion. We can work out a lot during that. Then, we can decide then if we can be of any help, and we can work with each other, and then we charge $250 for a more detailed chat, and depending on people's needs and the scope of the things that they need done, in our view, we've got fee structures over and above that is basically tailored to the time and effort we need to put in.
So educational literacy in the financial space, doesn't that... I just want you to shed some clarity here for me. So wouldn't it also step over the line a little bit into kind of...
Giving advice?
Giving advice, yeah?
Yeah. Look, it doesn't, and we make it very, very clear up front. All the stuff that we talk about is publicly available information. Mm-hmm. And a classic example is superannuation. For my entire time in the industry, so over 30 years now, because we had a life insurance business from 89 to 95, which was just life insurance products and basic savings plans. And that was before the financial planning industry really took off, which sort of followed the trend in England. Superannuation has always been sold as a product, and it's a fault of the industry, and it's a fault of the institutions. It's never been explained as a tax structure. So I can put...
Superannuation.
Yeah, just superannuation.
As a tax structure.
As a tax structure. Like, super is one of the most brilliant legal tax dodges you can get in Australia. And it's a fully established, approved ATO government vehicle to help people be self-funded retirees and not be reliant on the state, right? The old age pension. And there's lots of tax concessions in there that people just don't understand. It's like it's extraordinary. They go to work, they get $100,000 salary, their boss puts in 12,500 because you get 12.5%.
So yeah, so that's give me a perfect example of that. So it's a couple employed. Mm-hmm. Let's just, for the ease of use of numbers, at 100K each. Mm-hmm. And they've got, that's obviously the super is about what, 12 grand?
Yeah, it's been going. It started when Paul Keating introduced it back in 1993. It started off at 3%. Mm-hmm. So you got 3,000 on top of your 100 grand, and now you get 12,500 on top of your 100 grand because it's now at 12.
So that's 12,000 each, say, correct, in a super.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And the piece that a lot of people don't get is that the total tax deductible contribution that you can legally put into super, including your employer contributions, is $30,000
for each person.
For each person, right? And so you go, oh, really? I can go up to 30K in total,
So how does that work? So I'm earning $100,000
Yeah.
and my super contribution is 12,000.
12 and a half.
12 and a half. How do I go then to 30,000?
Okay. You just decide by doing a budget based on your lifestyle expenses and everything else, how much of the difference up to 30 grand.
So I have to put that out of my pocket towards my super.
18 grand. You've got up to 18,000, right?
Yep.
And you go, well, hang on. I can afford to put, say, 10 in of the 18 because I've still got a mortgage and I've got kids at school and rah, rah, rah. Mm-hmm. And you go, oh, right, well, I can now say to my employer that don't pay me a gross 100, pay me a gross 90.
Right.
And put 10 into my nominated super fund.
Right.
And that goes on top of the 12 and a half that they're already getting. So that's 22,500, right? So they can now still, put in another 7.5 grand if they want to, but they just can't afford it. But the fact that they didn't even know that they could put in an extra 10 and claim it as a tax deduction is a major problem with the knowledge gap in the financial services sector, because they didn't know about it. Like, they just didn't know about it. They would have known about it if they had a financial advisor, but there's 10 million people out there that don't seek advice. And most of those people didn't know they could put that extra 10 grand in and claim it as a deduction. And you can take it down to the next level and go, why would you leave all this extra tax money on the table and waste it? And what I mean by that is that if I said to you, Ray, look, you're on 100 grand, you're on a tax bracket of 32% tax, 30% tax plus 2% Medicare. And so that, if we go back to that 10 grand, you could go, oh, if I'm not paying tax on that 10,000, I've just saved 3,200 in tax, right? Now that's equivalent to 32% return on your money, because where else can you get that? If you're not paying the tax, where's the money going? It's not going into your pocket to buy groceries with. It's actually going into your super fund.
That's right.
Plan for your retirement. So you think, my God, that's like a free gift from the government, equal to a 32% return. Now, of course, it's not that good. It's not that good. It's bloody good, but it's not that good, because as soon as that 10 grand hits your super fund, there's a thing called a contributions tax of 15%. And you go, oh, okay, well, the super fund's got to pay 15% to the government of that 10 grand. So 15,
of the 10.
Of the 10. Yep. So 1,500's got to go out to the ATO.
Yep.
But if you stick to the numbers, you go, 32% tax deduction going in, less the 15% contributions tax. What's 15 from 32?
You still got about $1,700, yeah?
17%, right? Now that's real. That's a real guaranteed a government-backed return of 17% return on your 10 grand. And you go, wow, what can I get at the bank? Guaranteed.
Not even 5%.
Not even 5%. And you've got to pay tax on it.
Yep.
Right? And so let's say you net 3 after tax. Net 3 after tax here, or net 17% after tax here. Now, that's astounding for most people when you explain
that can stack up over a few years, right?
But it's extraordinary, because you go, and then we teach people about the rule of 72. And it's a great mental calculator that helps people understand compound interest. And one of the greatest things we would teach our kids is how compound interest works, because they can all work out they can be multimillionaires if they're taught this sort of in their early 20s. And because time is the greatest asset for compound, right? So if you do some compound calculations on picking up an extra 17% return on that 10 grand or the 18 grand, that you can go up to 30,000, you go, whoa, you just run a calculator in a spreadsheet and you go, that is amazing. I've just made an extra $300,000 or $400,000 that can go into my retirement, and it's a lot of money, and it can make the difference of having a self-funded retiree status or being reliant on.
And that doesn't matter whether you don't need to have a self-managed super fund.
No.
You can just do that whether you have a self-managed super fund or you've got just a superannuation account.
Exactly. Any complying super fund. Can be any of the industry super funds. It can be any of the retail super funds, as long as it's a complying super fund. And so the tragedy I see is lack of knowledge, because once you explain that to people, they go, "My God, Jeff," and this is a bit of an indictment on the financial planning industry as well, because I've had people in my office have said, "Look, Jeff, we've actually gone to 3 separate financial planners in the last 20 years." And these are generally business people. I generally deal with business people or professionals. And they'll go, "We've learnt more about super in the last 15 minutes than we've ever learnt with these financial planners." And we all paid them $3 or $4 or $5,000.
Well, I just did. I just learnt that actually because I had no idea that you could do that before.
Yeah. So that's a practical example. Another ripper of a practical example is a lot of people are property investors. And, it's one of the 4 great asset classes, because you've got cash, you've got fixed interest, which is bonds and term deposits, and then you've got property and shares, right? That's where all the 550 trillion of investable assets globally are essentially in those 4 asset classes. And the property guys, sometimes I've had property people go, "Look, Jeff, we decided to go down the property route and not bother about super. Government changes the rules, you can't trust them, blah, blah. And we bought 4 or 5 properties, and we're going to sell a couple and pay the debt off on the others, and that's part of our retirement." And I go, "Look, that's fantastic, but a question, were you aware that you could do a bit of both? Still have your property investments, but also do it in super? Maybe not all of them, but 1 or 2 or 3 properties in super." And they went, "No. How can you do that? I've got Australian super. How do you do that?" I said, "Oh, no, it's a self-managed super fund. You've got to be the trustee of your own super fund." Oh, how do you do that? And so that's just another extraordinary piece of lack of very basic knowledge of how things work. You can actually go and buy a commercial property or a residential investment property, as long as it's not your own. There's a few rules around arm's length and things like that. That could be income producing, capital growth assets in your own family super fund. And when you retire and you've stopped work and you're over 60 and you're in a pension phase, a few things your accountant's got to do, all of that rent now can be tax-free in your retirement. Oh, and by the way, if you decide to sell one of those properties and you paid $400,000 for it, and now you're going to sell it for $1.2 million, there's $800,000 worth of capital gain. It's owned by the super fund. You're over 60 and you're in retirement phase. You sell it for $600,000 profit, and how much tax do you pay? 0. And so people go, "My accountant has never explained that, and I've never trusted financial advisors." I go, "Well, look, why did my accountant tell me about that, Jeff?" And I go, "Well, there's a few reasons. One, and the most likely reason, is that all these accountants are largely conflicted under the legislation rules governing the areas you've got to stick to, the lane you've got to stick to in your various professions." So an accountant, unless they've got a financial planning license on top of being qualified accountants, are overstepping the line if they start talking about a financial services product. So they can't talk about super, and they stay away from it. Now, some will go, "Wink, wink, I shouldn't tell you this, but you should do this." But many are gun-shy about that, and rightly so, because if the business goes bad and the accountant gave them that
That's right.
advice,
You got to point the finger, and
the poor devils can lose their business. And so that's often an answer to the question, "Why did my accountant tell me?" They can't tell you legally, and that's a fault of the regulators, because accountants used to be able to say, "Hey, Ray, look, you should maximise your tax deductions into super because you're making too much money and you need to put money into super. Like it's a fantastic tax deductible thing to do and it's good for your retirement. But even if you're not retired, you can use a self-managed super fund to go and buy your own office. And then that's another fantastic thing to do because a lot of doctors have been doing this forever. Their medical practice is owned by their super fund. They pay rent to the landlord. The landlord is the super fund. They happen to be just trustees of the super fund and members of the super fund. So all publicly available knowledge or information, you can go to the ATO website and find all this out. And we will often give people directions to the ASIC website and the ATO website and go, look, just go and read this link, go and do your own research. And people are happy to pay us a fee for getting access to the information.
There is a couple of other things that I wanted to discuss with you, which I think we will bring you back again to have a chat about.
No problem.
And the stuff that I was really interested in, the crypto that you started talking to me about, and we ran out of time.
It was a whole new subject in its own.
Excellent. Great. Thanks, Jeff, and look forward to next time.
Thanks very much for the kind invitation, Ray.
Thank you.
Cheerio.